Yolanda had been raising her granddaughter for several years, and she never expected that sending her back to her mother for a weekend visit would be the last time she ever saw her. Yolanda and her son Julius tried to warn Children's Services of possible dangers to the child, but Julius ended up being alienated from his daughter after being falsely accused of abusing her. And tragically, after the child was placed back in the care of her mother, she suffered horrific abuse that ultimately killed her. How, you think, like, how could this happen? How could adults beat a child to death? Did she make accusations against you?
She was making accusations, making false police reports, ACS reports, like just keeping a lot of that consistent so I couldn't get no visits and none of that with my kids.
So she was saying you were abusing your daughter?
Yes, she was making.
Did you ever abuse your daughter?
Never.
Never. So the child's mother was arrested and charged with murder and manslaughter in the second degree, and her half-brother was charged with murder and manslaughter in the second degree and sexual abuse in the first degree. They have pled not guilty, are currently being held without bond. So I know it's hard to relive this, but what do you remember about the day when you got the call about what happened to your daughter?
I was just in the house relaxing, you know, trying to get my day started. And the police came to knock on the door looking for my mom. And then that's when we found out what was going on.
What is that like?
I was numb. I couldn't cry. I couldn't do nothing. I was very numb. I couldn't even believe it. It didn't even sound right in my ears. It's like the worst thing any father could hear.
I so believe that. I can't even imagine what that pain's like. I mean, I'd rather die 1,000 times than happen, you know, to hear something about your own child. Now, your mom was able to get your daughter, but you weren't, and that's because of the allegations that your ex was making against you. So your mom did have custody?
Yeah, she my daughter was abandoned in the hospital when the mother left her in the hospital, so I took care of her while she was dead until she came out the hospital.
The mother left your daughter in the hospital?
Yes.
And just left?
Yes, they had asked for the bands or whatever, and I was not leaving my daughter in there. And I was just like, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen, but I'm not leaving my daughter.
Why did she just take off and leave your daughter there?
Because she had the red flag for the 4 kids that got taken. So when I had my daughter, they dragged us into the situation.
Because of what happened with her 4 previous kids?
Yes.
How often did you get to see your daughter?
I barely got to see her. Like, a lot of my visitations and stuff was canceled, and there was a lot of unprofessional things going on.
When you did get to spend time with your daughter, did you ever notice signs of abuse? Did she tell you, Daddy, bad things are happening to me?
No. She would just tell me that she didn't never want to be around the mom and certain things like that.
Which is a really strange statement.
Yeah, she didn't want none of the workers to be around me. She basically was protecting me. Like, I would visit her, and the little time that I did have, I would visit her, and we'd go in the back cubby, and anybody come back there, she's like, get away, get away. She just didn't want nobody around me.
So your daughter is killed. Is the mother and the half-brother arrested immediately?
No, they was arrested a year later.
A year later? Why, do you have any idea why it took so long?
They said the investigation.
I know, but I mean, when a child dies, I mean, I don't think you have to look too far.
That's what I thought.
And were you relieved that they were arrested?
No, because I don't feel like it's enough.
Yeah, that's right, like no matter what. After your daughter passed, did you ever have any conversation with the mother?
No.
Never? Not even one conversation?
I got to see her, but I didn't bear to look at her when I was fighting for custody for my son. I had just recently got my son, like, last week, full custody.
Is this a son that you had with her?
Yes. He was there with my daughter when that all happened.
Oh, my God. How old is your son?
He's 4.
I mean, how's that conversation going to be like in a few years when he asks, where's his mom, where's his sister?
I just keep him happy and keep him as a kid and make sure he's happy.
So on the death certificate, the death was caused by blunt force trauma. Do you know if it was like just beating her with their hands or if they beat her with something?
They was beating on her. She had bruises on her wrists, her nose, her mouth, her upper lip was ripped off, like black eyes.
Why did you take a lie detector test?
I did that to prove that I had nothing to do with anything. And to make things better for the situation because nobody never listened to me for nothing.
Have you talked to like the prosecuting attorney about, I mean, you've had any conversations of what they are facing as far as the sentence goes?
They facing life.
Life in prison.
Yeah.
All right, your mom, Yolanda's here. Let's bring her out.
I knew you was innocent, son. And I'm so sorry you had to go through this. I love you, son.
Love you too.
I love you so much.
I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
How would you describe your granddaughter to us?
My granddaughter was very intelligent. She loved to go to church. And she was an intelligent little girl.
Now, you had custody of her, right?
I did, on the strength of my son. When the child was taken out of the hospital after she was being discharged, he didn't want his daughter to go into the system. So he asked them if they can give the child to me. My granddaughter was supposed to be my kinship gap. They call it kinship gap relative. That means that I have custody of the child. The caseworker never did the paperwork for me to get the kinship gap. When we went back to court, the judge asked why didn't they do the paperwork for the kinship gap. She couldn't give them any excuse. So they told her she had to do the kinship gap. So by this time, she went back to the office and she said, we have to have a meeting. So we're in this meeting and I'm sitting like I'm sitting here now. The supervisor jumped up and jumped in my face and asked me what I was gonna do. And I said, what? You serious? You're not serious, right? She wanted to fight me, the supervisor. So I got up.
But why? Why would she want to fight you?
I don't know. I just was telling her the lady my concerns. The caseworker was asking me my concerns. I didn't know what was going on. You know, I'm just thinking I'm expressing what my granddaughter is expressing to me. And so she got up and she was over here by me and I'm sitting down because I couldn't believe it. I thought she was really joking. But she went from 0 to 1,000. So I said, you're not serious, are you? She says, what you gonna do? You gonna do something? And I got up and I walked out. These are things my son doesn't know about. So he can't really express to you what was going on. She chased the caseworker with a knife and they shoved it under the rug. All this happened in front of children at the agency.
So you feel like, this agency really failed you.
When I found out that my granddaughter had died, a detective called me. He said, there's an investigation going on about your granddaughter and her mother. I need to ask you a few questions. So I said, now y'all want to ask me questions? Y'all took the child from me. First of all, the child was only supposed to go visit her mother for a weekend. A weekend became, oh, we put the child on a trial discharge. That's what they call it. A trial discharge. After they done kept the child for months. Now they say the child is on a trial discharge. So I said to the worker, you can do that? I said, because the judge said the child doesn't even know the parent, the mother. You can do what you want to do. They said, we can do whatever we want. I said, oh, okay. And they left the child there for a whole year. The whole year that I went to the child's building where she was staying, said that my granddaughter was beaten. My granddaughter had 2 black eyes and you still left her there? I don't understand. How did you leave my granddaughter in a home with 2 black eyes, and then the first thing they said was her little brother hit her with a Nerf gun? Come on. That doesn't make no sense to me. The child comes to visit the mom, whatever, but when the child comes back, she's scared to death. So now when it's time for me to take the child to see the parents, I have to tell her who she's going to see because she was getting the corner and she was shriveled up like a little cube, like she was really afraid. So that to me was a red flag.
But there's no doubt in your mind that your son did anything wrong.
He didn't do anything wrong.
Right. Just to be clear, it is the little girl's biological mom, and the brother was the little girl's half-brother, her older child, the little girl's own brother. Okay, so Julius, listen. You know, we've done tragic stories before. Unfortunately, you know, we've heard similar stories. But I don't know if I've ever heard a case of a child protection agency, whatever you want to call it, I know every state's different, that seems like they really failed you.
Yes, they did.
Really dropped the ball. You know, when a little girl's telling her grandmother, call the police, I mean, and you play the tape for them, and then you got supervisors that want to fight you. I never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, they made me be supervised.
Can you relate to this story? Need my help? Call 1-888-STEVE-07. Did you at any time hit your daughter causing any injury? You answered no. Did you at any time ever strike, hit, or punch your daughter causing any marks or bruises? You answered no. The result came back to both of those questions, and it came back that Julius told the truth.
He did. He really did.
I love you. I love you so much. Thank you for fighting. I love you so much.
Unfortunately, I've known people in my life that have lost a child. It's not right. No, we should never outlive our children, our grandchildren. This is a sad story that a biological mother is accused of beating her own child to death. The system that was involved failed to protect this child. So many people, it seemed like they dropped the ball. They did not help you. And I know no matter what, nothing's ever going to make that right. I certainly hope that after this case concludes that there is an investigation open into why everybody dropped the ball on this. And I'm sure...
Could I say something? When my granddaughter died in August, we had to continue to fight. We had to go to civil court to fight for her body.
I had to fight for the body for 4 months.
He had to literally go to civil court and fight because the mother wanted to cremate the child to get rid of the evidence, and we wanted to bury the child. So we didn't get to bury the child in August. We didn't bury the child till November the 2nd. And so we had to have a closed casket. So it just don't stop there.
I certainly hope that you'll let us know when there is a resolution to this case, because we would certainly, I'm sure everybody that's watching the show would like to know. I wish you all the luck. Very nice meeting you.